the reconnection dialogue. I'm not getting into it too much, but between him and the girl, who basically, like, she totally abandoned him, and then she's like, he's like, you screwed me over. She goes, yeah, it was years ago. And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, what? I'm sorry. Like,
it's not even so much.
Goes,
it's not even so much the way that he says it. It's the way that he delivers it. He's completely deadpan throughout the entire thing. I don't have any evidence for this, but I would wager to bet he's phoning this in. He does not care about anything.
Absolutely.
He's looking at. He read this script and said, "Okay, sure,
this is garbage. You gonna pay me what now? Okay, sure."
Exactly. Where's my money? Oh, okay. All those zeros.
Hello, all of you wonderful people out there in podcast land. Welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews. My name is Chuck.
Sorry, did you say broadcast land?
I said, did I?
No, you didn't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hello, all
How
of
dare
you. My name is Chuck.
I'm Lee.
I am Will.
And today we are talking about the 1998 sensation, Jurassic Park 4, Godzilla. It might as well be Jurassic Park 4.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. It's 1998 Godzilla with Matthew Broderick. This movie was... I don't know. So when I I went back, there was a period a few weeks ago where I was sick. So I was like, oh, I was on a Godzilla kick. So I was like, you know what? I'll try this movie. It did not hold up.
It didn't?
No.
Are you sure? Because I was pleasantly enthralled watching this movie again.
This movie, this movie was bad. And I suggested this movie because I suggested this movie because I wanted to rip on it, because this movie is just, it tried to be good. It was serious. It was
not trying
to be
good. It was not trying to be anything but what it was. This was...
No, I think it was trying. It was in that. Go ahead.
No. I cut you off and I apologize. I want you to I want you to continue. I insist that you continue.
This movie, I knew this movie would be bad. But I didn't want to.
In 98?
No, in 97 when they promoted it. No, I think it was trying to be serious.
Yeah.
And then a year later, they're like, no, it really wasn't that good, and it hasn't. It got bad ever since. So, I like the fact that the cover is just the eye, because they don't want to show how they like completely changed Godzilla to not be Godzilla. But yeah. Yeah, out of all the Godzilla movies I've watched in the last like month and a half, and I've watched about I've watched 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah.
This one was not good. Will, how much did you love this movie?
Okay.
Here we go.
This movie tried. You think this movie tried to be serious?
Like, it tried. It was not successful. It tried.
The charm and character of Godzilla, while campy and ridiculous, and I am sure certain portions of any audience will find them to just be stupid, there is a certain level of charm, and there is a certain level of serious to a lot of those old 70s and 60s movies, being an anti-nuclear war thing that the Japanese have to deal with after, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, after World War II, even after a lot of the, independent or like within the nation wars that they were fighting at. It's anti-war. Like, that was the point of that movie. This movie was, I'm gonna say it. This movie was an American studio on its high horse saying, we're gonna beat the lizard. only it wasn't a lizard. It was a dinosaur, a legit dinosaur that breathed fire. And the reason why it was a dinosaur is because the director of this thing, Ronald Emmerich, Ronald, is that how you pronounce his name? Emmerich?
Roland
Emmerich.
Yep.
Thank you. Roland Emmerich. He actually said in multiple interviews that the lizard big-bellied Japan Godzilla wasn't realistic, and he wanted to make his movie realistic. So you acquire the rights to do this. TriStar acquires the rights to do it's TriStar of America acquires the rights to do this from Toho, and they completely bastardize the entire idea behind what Godzilla is. Even if you don't like Godzilla, that's what this movie essentially did. And I'm off that. I think he looks horrible in this movie. The special effects were god awful in certain places.
Yep.
How it just like even in the 60s, they were able to successfully show a monster opening its mouth and the fire coming out. Here it was just open mouth and green screen fire effect. It was okay. That's one. Number two, how Matthew Broderick didn't know what he was doing. Was he a scientist? Was he a comedian? Was he doing shtick? Was he the comedic relief? We really don't know. Even and just how they took this thing and they twisted it into being like half serious, if you believe Chuck, and half comedy, how it's like, oh, Godzilla put his foot down. Is the cameraman dead? Nope, it's just a gag. And then he looks down at his pants like he just pissed himself and he starts laughing. It was so ridiculous. This movie offended me on so many different levels just because of what it was. And I don't want to get too deep. I don't want to get too deep into it. This woman, this woman, what's her name? Maria Patello? Maria Patello.
Yeah, she plays Audrey.
Yeah, Maria Patello. She won a Razzie for worst supporting female actress in a movie for this role, and I can't for the life of me understand why.
I don't even think it's her fault.
It's her fault. It's 100% her fault. She was awful in this movie. She was in love with him. She wasn't in love with him. She wanted to screw him over.
The dialogue was garbage.
It was everything about her. The dialogue was garbage. Her delivery was garbage. Her mannerisms were garbage. Her facial expressions were garbage. Everything about this woman in this movie was absolutely trash, and she deserved the Razzie that she got for this role. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. Does she love him? Oh no, she doesn't love him. Oh, she's trying to screw him over for a story. Oh no, she's apologizing. Oh, she left him because he wasn't adventurous enough. Oh, but now all of a sudden she wants to be back in his life. And Matthew Broderick, like the dope, actually takes her back. And I can't. I'm spoiling things. I'm getting way ahead of myself.
Yeah.
I do apologize.
Yeah.
And there's one more thing that I want
to.
There's one more thing that I want to bring up. And maybe Chuck doesn't have an ear for this kind of thing. Lee, you will. Correct me if I'm wrong, but David Arnold is the composer for this movie. Tell me he didn't just take parts of this score and regurgitate it for Independence Day. Am I the only one who heard that?
No.
It
was identical.
Thank you. It was absolutely identical in certain spots, and I'm like, how much of a lazy F do you have to be to not come up with something original? I understand that not everybody can be John Williams. I get it. I understand that not everybody is going to be able to be what's his name?
Danny Elfman.
Not everybody can be Elfman. Exactly. There's another one. Not everybody can be Elfman.
But
Not everybody can be John Goodman. It's unbelievable what this movie was and what they pawned this off as. And the most offensive is this movie had a budget of $130 million and it grossed $379 million. I can't believe it made that much money. I can't believe all those people who actually went and saw this movie in 1998. I want
to talk about that in general.
Okay.
For a second. It's a really big deal.
I do not understand. Go ahead.
People talk about how much a movie takes in at the theater. Isn't it just good promotions that makes money, like theater money? Because the reality is this. Many people will go and watch something that is atrocious because they're excited or they just need to watch it to rip on it. Like, I'll tell you this, I'm watching The Acolyte not because I'm excited for it, because I want to go, I'm just like it's a train wreck, and I just can't look away. And that's what it is. But because I'm watching it, it's showing that I'm watching it, and the numbers are going up.
True.
So everyone's going to go spend money on something that's marketed well. You know, so you're going to see it gross a lot of money, and then you're going to say, oh, that movie was garbage. Like, really? I got to see this and see how garbage
Godzilla.
it was.
The name is what sold it.
Right. So my point is, when they talk about what's grossed in the first opening weekend of a movie, I don't think that's a good way to measure the success of a film. It's just a good way to measure the marketing tactics that they used in order to get people out to it. That's all that shows.
Taco Bell contributed. Taco Bell contributed to the marketing of this film with $20 million in media support. The marketing campaign featured commercials of the Taco Bell Chihuahua attempting to trap the monster in a box or riding on the monster's tail while making an order.
I think I'm going to need a bigger box.
Yes. I remember this. I remember that.
I remember it very well.
Okay, fine. So then the marketing campaign for this movie was genius. Fine.
But that's my point about across the whole thing. I know we're not talking about the movie here, but I'm talking about it in general. When people are saying, look how much this movie brought in, it's like, it's not about how good the movie was. It's only about how they promoted it.
Sure.
If you get a good enough promoter, you can sell a box of poop, you know, if you promote it well.
Yeah.
And you'll make a ton of money.
Yeah.
And people are like, I got this box of poop. And they go, oh, it's just a box of poop. Well, thanks for the money. And that's what movies are. You know, so it's like, I don't see how that could even be used in a rating, you know, of a movie.
I don't either.
How much it grossed.
I don't either.
It's dumb.
But it is.
That's why I go to Rotten Tomatoes, because real people who watch things
understandable.
And like things or hate things,
what I find even more bizarre is that the key players, Matthew Broderick and the director, and I'm already blanking on his name. I don't care about this guy all
Roland
that much.
Emmerich. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There were plans to do like a series. There were plans to do movie 2 and 3, and it didn't happen. I can't for the life of me imagine why it didn't happen. And they basically the company just kind of let the their licensing for the trademark just run out a few years later, and they were just going to be done with the entire idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I'm shocked because I thought they did well.
Of course you do.
I'll tell you this. I got a lot of Taco Bell that year.
You know what's funny is I looked up online like different ideations of Godzilla over the years. Guess which one does not show up in the lineup?
I would not be surprised if it was this one.
It's not.
It shouldn't be either. It shouldn't.
It's not in the lineup at all. Now I want to say this is I did this past weekend because it came out on HBO Max on July 4th. I watched Godzilla X Kong.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
That was good.
All right.
It was okay. They make Godzilla do things that I've never like. He jumps.
Does he laugh? Does he go
underwater? He goes. No, he jumps and does like a diving roll. He runs really, really fast. He does things that I've never seen Godzilla do. Like it's pretty crazy. It's an okay film.
Mm.
It's way better than 1998's Godzilla. But then again, you know, Armageddon in 1998 was better than this film.
Well, Armageddon was a good movie.
Well, didn't age well.
No, it didn't age well.
That
but
movie
at the
did
time,
not.
It was a good movie.
At the time, it was a good movie. That movie did not age well.
How did it not age well?
What?
What
Try to
part?
watch it now.
What part of Independence Day aged well?
Oh no, he said Armageddon.
Oh, Armageddon. Okay, I thought we were talking about
Independence Day was 94, and
okay,
that's still a good. I still like that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's just. I'm not gonna get too much into this, but let's just look at the other contenders of '98. Basketball. Deep Impact.
That was a good movie.
That's not a bad movie.
Elijah Wood was pretty good in that movie.
Deep Impact was the lower budget Armageddon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Night at the Roxbury. Small Soldiers. Dr. Dolittle.
Small Soldiers?
Yeah.
With Tommy Lee Jones? That was fantastic.
Half Baked. The Wedding Singer.
The wedding singer was. I thought that was earlier.
Okay.
No.
That was
98.
98.
Yeah.
Really?
Prince of Egypt.
Ah.
That. Mulan, Blues Brothers 2000, which came out in 98. Okay. Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain.
That was a fantastic film.
Soldier, Krippendorf's Tribe, Blade. Yeah.
Fantastic film.
Pleasantville. American History X.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Billboard Dad. What Dreams May Come. And Patch Adams. Same year.
Yeah.
The X-Files movie.
Good movie.
Godzilla. U.S. Marshals.
I'm sorry,
movie.
what? Well, back up. What? X-Files was a good movie?
I like the X-Files.
I like the X-Files series, but the movie was trash.
I liked those two movies. Which one did you not like?
The one that
This
he's
is Dare to
talking about,
Believe.
this first movie that they're talking, that movie was garbage.
I liked it.
Fine.
Anyway,
Fine.
there's a lot of things that came out. Now, I want to go on the other thing right here. We're talking about Roland Emmerich, right?
Yes.
What other movies has this guy done?
Independence
Well,
Day.
I know. Hold on. I'm going to say I watched this movie again, and I go, you know what? This feels like 1998. I watched it going, this is par for the course around 98 when it comes to a dumb, like, mainstream sci-fi at this type of level.
Okay.
And I go, what else has this guy done? And I look and say, okay, we've got Stargate, Independence Day, The Day After Tomorrow, and The Patriot. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because The Patriot, I recall that being a decent movie.
Which Harrison Ford's The Patriot?
No, that's Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson's.
Mel Gibson's The Patriot.
Yes. So,
Which is a good movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't bad.
but you've got Independence Day, and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Independence Day, for what it was, like the feel of it, the people running around, the panic, like the dialogue, it all makes sense. Like, it's not believable. You've got Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum. I think maybe we should do this. Like, oh, hello, here we are. Yeah, okay. And then, Will Smith and whatever.
Peace.
Yeah. And then Day After Tomorrow, I'm like, Day After Tomorrow was cool for what it was.
It wasn't.
No, it was literally cool for what it was. The whole Earth was freezing.
Yeah.
And then you had like the core, which was the other version of it, which I thought was actually entertaining. They go down to the core of the Earth, try to get the Earth to start back up again by blowing it up with nukes.
Hillary
Anyway.
Swank. Yeah, it was dumb. It was a dumb
So-
movie.
Anyway, like this movie comes out, and I'm like, I'm not surprised it was what it was. And without getting into super details, I will say the dialogue in this film, every single bit of dialogue is garbage. Matthew Broderick is Matthew Broderick. And I will say this no matter what. I love Matthew Broderick for what he does. Like Ferris Bueller, he's talking to the camera, everything is over dramatized, like dramatic. He is a stage actor.
Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget. That's a kids movie.
Yeah.
My point is Matthew Broderick is a stage actor, and the lines that he uses in this movie, it was like it's like when you see somebody wearing stage makeup, so it's like it's overdone so people can see it in the audience. That's what's happening here. The way he says things. He says a line in there, hey, I know you, don't I? Yeah, you're that insurance guy. Like it was so like stage acting. And I'm like, okay, like
Yes.
it was just bad. The reconnection dialogue, I'm not getting into it too much, but between him and the girl, who basically, like, she totally abandoned him, and then she's like he's like, you screwed me over. She goes, yeah, it was years ago, and he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, what? I'm sorry. Like,
It's not even so
she
much.
goes-
It's not even so much the way that he says it. It's the way that he delivers it. He's completely deadpan throughout the entire thing. I don't have any evidence for this, but I would wager to bet he's phoning this in. He does not care about anything.
Absolutely.
He's looking at. He read this script and said, "Okay, sure,
this is garbage. You gonna pay me what now? Okay, sure. I'll do it.
exactly. Where's my money? Oh, okay. All those zeros. All right, I'll do it. And that's
In the newer movies. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go.
Go ahead, Will. Oh, in the newer movies, Kyle Chandler, who is Millie Bobby Brown's father.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Early edition.
yeah, he is Matthew Broderick's role in the new ones, basically.
Mhm.
Like he's that like,
scientist guy, whatever.
yeah, you know, he
And
has
he's
all
great.
the information, and that's who Broderick is supposed to be. Kyle Chandler does a way better job though at it and fits the role. If you took him then after he was doing Early Edition and popped him into that movie, it would have been a different feel.
Yeah. Actually, wasn't Early Edition around that time?
I think it was early 90s.
Was it early? No, wait, it was early 90s.
Early Edition.
It was Early Edition, so it must have been. Anyway,
And it always came
Yeah.
out a day before. Day after. Day before.
yeah, it had Fisher Stevens.
Shock.
Number Johnny 5. So, you know, the thing about this movie is, you think about, okay, let's go back to.
Oh my gosh, 96 to 2000.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Was it really that?
I don't think it was. I didn't remember it was that long, but I know it was definitely later on.
I thought it was early 2000s. That's weird.
I
mean, early 90s.
It was definitely not early 90s because I remember it because I'm not.
So
old.
I'm looking. I'm
And,
looking through a lot of other. I'm looking through a lot of other movies that Matthew Broderick has done. I can't say that I really like him all that much because when you look at it, it's like War Games, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and he was the voice of adult Simba in The Lion King. Aside
Yeah.
from that,
And not even the singing voice. It
Nope,
was actually
nope,
the dude
not
from
the
Toto
sing-
that was
yeah.
the singer.
not the singing voice. Nope, not at
Yeah.
all.
Which I'm surprised because he's a singer. No, they got the Toto dude.
And I looked through the
Okay.
rest of this and I'm like, I've either never heard of these movies or I thought these movies weren't fantastic. So it's
Inspector Gadget. 1 and 2.
Over the Top. He wasn't in 2. That was French Stewart.
yeah, he wasn't into.
Yeah.
Oh,
I-
they changed the actor for it?
French
I didn't-
Stewart. Yeah.
Okay.
You know French Stewart.
That's how much that's how much that movie, either
Yeah.
of those movies stuck. I'm with you, Will. I'm not a fan of Matthew Broderick.
Neither. No, I'm.
Well, that's the thing is Matthew Broderick is good for the things that he's good for. Like in Ferris Bueller, that type of character, the way that movie was played out, perfect for it. Nobody could have played it the way that he did. But that's not the person you say, let's put him in a sci-fi action blockbuster
No,
type
right.
film.
No.
He would have fit in Breakfast Club.
He would have fit in Breakfast Club.
yeah.
You're right. He could have been a character in
He could have-
Breakfast Club.
yeah.
Maybe the dork that gets thrown into a locker. I don't know. But the
Maybe.
point is like, and I'm not saying this to be rude about him. It's just that he fits where he fits. He fits in Tower Heist. He's great in Tower Heist as like this nervous dude who's just like about to get kicked out of his house. Like,
Sure.
okay, got it.
But do you think they were trying to do with Broderick what they did with Willis though, with Bruce Willis?
That's very different.
Well,
No. Taking a guy who is a romantic, like a
Rom-com.
kind of
Rom-com.
guy, even
Maybe.
turning him into an action star, or even the same thing with and they tried doing it with what's his name, Matthew McConaughey.
Mm.
They tried putting him into like it never stuck. He had to go back to the rom-com stuff. But it was successful with Bruce Willis. It wasn't successful with him.
The problem here is that when you watch Bruce Willis in Moonlighting, he has the look of somebody who can be very
a man.
versatile. Exactly, as somebody who can be very versatile. When you see Matthew Broderick in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I do not think put a gun in his hand.
No, you think he's a 16-year-old boy. And even in Godzilla, he still is that
Sure,
same 16-year-old
he is.
boy.
Yeah, he's exactly the same. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's like, it's almost, I hate to say this, but it's almost like he's Michael J. Fox, where he just, he couldn't get out of being
The kid.
the kid.
Yeah, that's just little man syndrome. But the thing again, it really comes down to Matthew Broderick has been for years a Broadway actor. Like that's his thing. So when he did The Producers, amazing.
Yeah, but so is John Travolta.
John Travolta's not a Broadway actor.
He started out on Broadway. Yes, he did.
He started on Broadway?
He was Kaniki in the Broadway for
Yeah,
Dreams.
he was.
Right. Yeah, but that's where he started, but he didn't keep going with it. He did it and then he went off and did his other stuff and that was that.
He was.
But Matthew Broderick's been doing Broadway forever. He was the Music Man. He was in The Producers. He was doing other stuff with Nathan Lane.
Didn't John Travolta have like a moderately successful singing career before Grease, though?
Moderately.
Moderate. That's what. Not like huge, but like I'm saying, like
when they did. Right, when they did Grease, the soundtrack for Grease was on the radio all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It still is.
Yeah, it's true.
If you go to karaoke, some of those songs are the biggest songs that people pick out.
It's electrifying. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah. The biggest thing I can say about this movie.
Make it so far. Like I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun movie.
So the reality is Godzilla, they did not put I can't say anything about Godzilla except for 1998. It's par for the course for 98.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It feels like a 90s movie it's a 90s movie that they were trying to force down people's throats, and it was not what we needed.
But no, it doesn't.
It's goofy. It's not serious where it needs to be serious. It's not funny where it needs to be funny. It's just everything seems to fall flat.
But that's the thing, though, is when you have the other 98 films, Armageddon, The Core.
Yeah.
Not The Core.
Well, not
the Elijah Wood one.
So Deep Impact.
Deep Impact.
Yeah.
That's what,
actually Armageddon was 97, I believe.
that was not,
I don't.
whatever.
I don't even. Okay, so I don't even look at a lot of other things that happened in '98. I don't know.
I just think the 90s, like
the 90s.
there were so many movies.
Yes,
there were so many big like Armageddon type movies that were coming out.
Yes,
that just that people were trying to do their own takes on it. And I'm just like, you watch it and you go, oh yeah, like you could watch this movie having no idea when it came out and say, I bet you this was somewhere in the mid 90s because of just the way it feels. It's not
more late 90s.
Okay.
Because there were a lot of good movies that came out of the 90s.
Yes,
there were a lot of
tons,
good movies.
It's something about the feel that I can't put my finger on. That's just like
it was the cheese
garbage.
I saw a meme. I saw a meme.
90s cheese.
It's the disaster. It's the disaster, movie, the thing that, dominated a lot of box office in the late 90s. Well, in the mid to late 90s. Independence Day, Armageddon, this.
Titanic was 97 too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Titanic was 97. Like it's all within that frame. So I understand what you're saying.
But.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Oh, we should have waited till spoiler territory for that, Chuck.
Crap.
Ruin that.
No, I'm with you though, Will. I'm with you. Like but there was even still as bad as Titanic was. It's still special effects wise, it wasn't bad. There was a lot of good movies that came out special effects wise that was decent. I mean, right around the corner, they did Lord of the Rings. Literally 4 years later, Lord of the Rings came out. Literally just a few years later, Disney did Pirates of the Caribbean.
Sure.
And that was fantastic. What changed in a matter of 4 years?
You're talking, but computing processing.
Helm.
You're talking about a massive leap forward. This is you're talking about like
today,
the time frame. Okay, so you think about
30 years ago.
Think about like let's say 2007, 2008. All right, they're two completely different worlds because you have pre and post internet boom popularity because of like YouTube and everything social media. There's a pivotal shift in the way that society functioned after that. The same can be said for the film industry. There was a shift in the late 90s and early 2000s where movies were never going to be the same again. And that was it. And Peter Jackson spearheaded that. Wasn't happening in the 90s, wasn't really happening before him. Because, and I've said this before, a lot of sci-fi movies out of the 90s do not age well. This is one of them. Independence Day is one of them. To a lesser extent, Armageddon is one of them. Deep Impact is one of them. You go back and you watch those movies, the
Matrix
plot,
came out a year later.
The plot, okay, the plot of Armageddon is cool. The plot is okay. The special effects, not so much. Same thing with Deep Impact. Same thing with Independence Day. Like, these movies did not age all that well until you get to a point where it's like, cinema is going to change forever.
But you have things like Matrix, aged well.
You can't mess up a martial arts movie though. That's hard.
But it's
You're not
a
going to do
science
that.
fiction movie.
Yeah,
They
but
did a
it's
lot-
not. It's
I mean, for the next 10 years after that, a lot of movies. I mean,
what was
even
what
Deuce
was
Bigalow,
what
Mel
was
Gigolo had
okay?
to copy it.
What was the special effect thing that happened in that movie? The helicopter slamming
Bullet
into the
time?
side of the building.
Bullet time, the 360-degree shot,
That doesn't.
all of that.
Yeah, the bullet. When
behind the
Neo
scenes.
when Neo
they had-
stops those bullets, though, it doesn't look great.
No, that's in the next movie. He hasn't stopped the bullets in the first. In the first movie,
in
he
the
does. You're right.
subway.
In
Yeah.
the subway,
in the
he
first
stops the
movie.
boot. Yes.
Yeah.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
look
look
good.
bad.
It
Doesn't
doesn't
look bad.
It doesn't. It doesn't look.
They don't look like
good.
bullets.
No. It didn't.
But
it
you
did,
get the point.
It didn't. You got the point.
For the
and
time, it
and
looked
for the
cool.
time, it looked fantastic. Looking back on it, like it did not.
Okay,
that's another one that I
but
would
this-
say.
Okay, so out of that entire film, so that one scene out of that entire film is all of Godzilla.
Mm.
That's the difference. Is I'm okay with that's a small thing. That's a small thing. That it's in a dark. It's in a dark corridor of a hallway in a rundown hotel. Fine. I'm okay with that. You can't tell. Plus, he's stopping it. Are they still kind of moving because they're mixed.
Sure.
But him jumping into Agent Smith, the bullet time, where they actually, when they filmed that of him, like when they freeze framed him going around, they actually had like 30 cameras around him
Sure.
to do. It was insane.
It's like
And
you know
it was
what?
one
You know
of
what
those
else?
films that a lot of people copied for a decade after that.
You know what else I would compare this to? And maybe I'm the one who knows this. I would also I would compare the shift in cinema that we had in the late 90s and early 2000s. I would compare that to a lot of things Kubrick was doing in the 70s. All right? Barry Lyndon is not a good movie. I will be the first person to admit that, even though I'm a massive Kubrick fan. But that movie was all natural lighting, and a special lens was designed specially for him, for that movie, to get a beautiful shot during candlelight. This happened in 74. After that point, lighting in movies and the way the things were shot and the way the production was operated completely changed. They did not look the same anymore. You get to a certain point in the 70s where the 60s aesthetic, really old, really grainy, poorly lit, poor sound studio, all went away. And then movies became a completely different thing, and you got The Godfather. Like that's I think the same thing can be applied here.
valid.
Only replace everything with like computer processing and what special effects we're actually capable of. The Matrix might
Star
be
Wars
that.
came out a year later?
The what?
77,
No. Phantom Menace came out 99?
99.
99.
Came out a year after this.
Okay. It's still a
And the graphics?
It's exactly.
They don't look bad.
No, they don't.
But they don't look good.
They don't look good. They don't look bad.
thing is,
but they don't look good.
The reality was there were just way too many characters that were 100% CG.
You
That's the
cannot tell
issue.
me you cannot sit here and tell me that Jar Jar Binks in Phantom Menace looked good.
No, I won't sit here and tell you that Jar Jar Binks in Phantom Menace in any aspect was good.
I'm not talking about the
No.
character. I'm talking about the way that it looked.
He looked better than
When they're swimming
what
underwater
this was.
and they go in through the like portal thing or whatever, and it's like water to dry. No. Watch
He
that
looks
today.
better in that. Okay, I will. But he looks better in that than Godzilla does in this whole movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Him standing next to Liam Neeson looks more realistic than any character standing next to Godzilla in this movie.
Yeah.
Let's go back to something that I bring up every single time. Jurassic Park was 1993.
Exactly.
They used practical and computer generated effects.
Sure.
They use both. And that's the point. You have to use both. You have to use it as use CG for supplemental things that you cannot do unless you have to. You know, and that's what made Jurassic Park so good. When you saw the CG stuff, like you weren't looking for it at the time. You were already like, there's a dinosaur here. This looks amazing.
Right.
And then they were like, look what we can do with CG, and then just went off the deep end.
Yeah.
Let's just make fully CG characters. And I'm like, no, go
Not
back,
ready.
go back.
We're not ready yet.
Then you get stuff like, Dr. Smith at the end of Lost in Space, which also came out in '98. You get the Scorpion King with The Rock.
Oh
that scene
my
at the end. Oh no, sorry, no, not Scorpion. Sorry, The Mummy 2.
Mummy
the
2.
Mummy Returns.
Bad.
When
Yeah.
they show him, and you're like, well, that's not The Rock.
That does
like,
not
it
look
doesn't
like
even
The Rock
like
at
him.
all.
All they did was give him an eyebrow.
Yeah.
That was it. And it was dumb. So it's like that's the point. Is like
But
we
then
started
right
off
around
and
the
we were great, but then they took it and then they ran with it and we're like, no. Like it still has to look believable.
Yes.
You know
know
it still
what?
has to
And
look
I'm gonna
good. Like,
I'm gonna piggyback off of that, and I'm gonna comment to one more thing that Chuck said, and then I'm gonna let you go. The reason, and a really big reason, and this is just me, a really big reason why The Matrix stands apart from all of those other movies is because of something that we just said. It was a lot of it was very simple, a lot of it was practical, and the holes in the back of everybody's head was a prosthetic that looked otherworldly. Like it worked so well, and it carried a lot of that movie. So much so that you forgive the parts of the movie that don't look all that great or didn't age all that well. Zion, or what is Zion, and everything that's going on in the tunnels, and they're on board the Nebuchadnezzar, and they all got these holes in the back of their head, and they're all jacking into like a white room. Like that carries that movie. When I think about The Matrix,
Right.
I don't think about anything else. I don't think about the bullets. I don't think about the helicopter on the side of the building. Neither one of those scenes aged all that well. Let's be honest. That's what I mean.
The
And-
helicopter part wasn't bad. Because they slowed it down and you got to see the ripple effect of it. That
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
They still carry it today.
It's okay. But
I still enjoy it. When
I
look
so
at
do
it,
I.
I don't go. Eh.
No, I don't go but I'm also not going
The
to sit here.
explosions of the buildings in this movie, though,
Oh my god.
just bad.
Yeah.
Like I was watching a Transformers movie once, and they're
Only
fighting. Yeah, well, no, you see Optimus Prime fighting another, like one of the Decepticons in this wooded area, and you see trees falling.
Mm-hmm.
I watched some special effects. They were literally in a wooded area, and let's say this wooded area had 15 trees, and 5 of them fell down. Well, 10 of the trees were real. And they CG'd in 5 other trees to make it 15. So the ones that fell were the CG ones.
Yeah.
So it gave you the sense that, you couldn't tell the difference between the CG and the real because they did it really, really well.
Right.
But it wasn't like the entire scene was completely CG'd. It was that practicalness where they're using real life. They blended in the CG with it and they made it work out really well.
Yeah.
In this movie, I think the entire city was CG'd at one point, and it just looked bad.
So what was I just thinking about? Oh, this goes to it's a real valid point of when we talk about CG, even today's CG. It's funny to me that people call The Lion King, the one that came out like a few years ago,
Live action.
Oh, are you talking about the animated one or the live action? I'm like, you mean the animated one or the newly animated one?
Yeah.
Like, because I'm sorry, none of it's live action.
Yeah.
It's funny to me, but the reality is this: if you're going to make a movie and there's going to be like a big thing, like a big character, like let's just say, I don't know, Godzilla. It's called Godzilla. The movie's about Godzilla. You don't make a character whose name is the main title. You don't make them fully CG unless you can back it up. Now, Planet of the Apes, The Rise of the Planet of the Apes. When that movie was first coming out, the one with James Franco and of course Smeagol there. I can't believe I can't think of his name at the top of my head. Andy Serkis. I've been listening to him read The Hobbit this past week. Anyway, Andy Serkis comes in. I remember asking a buddy of mine, I'm just like, how is it? Is it like, how bad is the CG? Like, you're going to have a main character with these apes, and I'm like, how is it? And he says, you know what? A quarter of the way through the movie, I forgot it was CG. Like, it was just a really good movie. And I'm like, wow, okay. And if you watch, like, those movies as they progress, it started off really good, and you're like, this is actually really well done, and it gets better as
So,
the movies go on. It gets better and better.
You're absolutely right. And the thing here is something that you don't get in a lot of sci-fi. The thing here is the story is the main. You're not there for the CG. You're there for the story.
Yes.
A lot of other CG,
Absolutely.
a lot of other sci-fi, you're there for the special effects. You're there for the big booms. You're there for the,
So they better look good.
Exactly. That's what you're there for. In Godzilla, that's what you're there for. You're there to watch the destruction of a city, but there's a problem because it looks so bad. Planet of the Apes is all story driven, and you completely like the story. The story is so compelling that you completely let go and you allow yourself to get sucked into the world. So
now I know you guys have watched
Mark
more
Wahlberg
Godzilla.
was fantastic.
I know you guys have watched more Godzilla stuff than I have.
Mark Wahlberg
but it was my understanding.
Fantastic.
I think I just lost his respect from that one statement.
So you guys have watched more Godzilla than I have. But it's my understanding that the point of Godzilla, when they made Godzilla, and as they continued to make more, they knew that it was corny.
100%.
They knew that everybody knew it was a miniature.
Yeah.
So it was like, that's what this is.
Man in a suit.
But yeah,
I said
miniatures with a man in a suit.
Guy in suit destroys toy on string. That's exactly what it is.
Absolutely. That's what it is. But this movie is not that.
Nope.
You're not watching it say, oh, look at this goofy CG, because they're trying to be serious, but it's just bad.
100%.
And that's the problem here, is they went away from what the whole point of it was. It was like, yeah, what?
They tried to be serious with this movie.
Yes. That's the point. They tried to be serious with it, and it's like, okay, be serious with it. I mean, the stuff that came out with, okay, here we go, the new Godzilla 2014, moving its way through, they're being serious with it. They're not making it goofy, but they're doing a good job because they have the CG now to back it up.
Yeah.
You know, if they use more practical effects, of course, I'd like it more because I'm all about practical effects. How do you keep the budget down? You know, and still, whatever. It's
I don't know. I
And
think
Toho Studios did that with -1, and they killed it. With
I gotta watch it.
I gotta watch it. If they go back, I don't think you can go back to guy in suit at this point.
No, you can't.
I don't think that. I don't think we'll ever see that again. Not just in Godzilla, in anything where it's like dinosaur, ape, monster, whatever big alien creature run amok.
Now.
Yeah, you can't have guy.
Everything's too serious. It's.
But even in -1, there are scenes where they gave it where it looks like it's still a toy. Like when the plane crashes into Godzilla's mouth.
Yes.
And he's just standing there, get ready, like, you're like, this is a toy.
Yes.
It looks like a toy.
100%.
It's not, but they CG'd it to look like that. And then the plane just goes thunk.
The thing I like about that, the thing I like about that, which again, it's a mixture of practical and CG, is Godzilla is CG'd. The toy is a toy.
Yeah.
60 years ago, it would have been the water is a tub. And you can clearly tell that somebody's just on the other end smacking the water. Here, it was like ocean. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we were watching a movie the day before we left, so last week, and Surf Ninjas. If anybody remembers Surf Ninjas, Chuck was not interested in the first place. He was not interested until the last like 20 minutes, and then he started laughing because he's like, then he knew what he was getting into. He's like, I can laugh at the dumb stuff now. But there's one scene where like there's this big fight.
I saw it when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, there's this dumb scene fight where like they're surfing and these ninjas are coming after him. One guy gets knocked out, and this kid's like building sandcastles with his dog, and this guy just washes up onto the shore. And anybody like at our age who watches it, you know, there's a dude who's just like pushing the guy into frame and then pulling him out of frame, and it makes it funnier because we look at it and go, oh, this is so dumb.
Yeah.
And that's the point. If something is supposed to be dumb, we can laugh at it. But if you try to make it serious, you better have the effects to back it up.
Right.
You have to know what you're trying to do and back it up. I wrote on here, Men in Black graphics. Watch the first Men in Black and the graphics in that with the stupid cockroach.
Yeah.
It looks exactly the same as this.
Yeah.
That was better. Sad to say, that was still better.
It was better, but I'm just that last
alien-
scene.
the-
Godzilla
wait,
looks.
the
Godzilla
al-
looks like this.
The alien coming out of the car window and smashing Will Smith all over the place looks awful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's garbage.
Yeah, it
I'm
looks
I'm
really
thinking about
better
the
than this
cockroach
movie,
at the
though.
end. But yeah.
Still better than this movie, though.
But the thing is, Men in Black used practical effects as well.
True.
They had people in suits. They had stuff where they had like puppetry and stuff, and it was good. I think in the first movie or a couple of times, there's definitely a few times where the worms are actually little dudes in suits, and then later on they're like making coffee and pouring it all over the place. They did a back and forth between the two. But it was still over the top. They were trying to find that balance, and they didn't. It's always, for me, it's always going to come back to 1993 Jurassic Park, because it was just with what ILM was doing at the time with Terminator and stuff like that, and getting ready for like ILM did Titanic and everything as well. They did an amazing job using both practical and special effects.
I think Terminator.
You have to.
I think Terminator is the only example where I would ever say going way over the top served a really good purpose, especially with oh my god,
Genesis.
Robert Patrick,
especially with Robert Patrick.
Yeah,
like the whole scene where he was like completely like chrome, and it was like, the way over the top, but it works.
I love the shimmer. Remember when he changes and then he like shimmers through?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
like it was.
Yeah,
like, that I thought that was just a beautiful little touch. Anyway,
and Jurassic Park, Transformers. Wow, Terminator 3. I wish to go through all.
Can you stop? Can you please stop?
Well, I just want to talk about one of the best Terminator movies.
All right, so in Genesis, John Connor is now suddenly
Christian Bale.
Anyway, that was salvation. Anyway,
Do you want to just get into it?
Let's just get into it.
Transition.
All right. So we're gonna get into spoiler territory, and for those of us who are watching us on YouTube, continue to follow us and watch us on YouTube. Share with all your friends. Just like YouTube, our online name for Instagram is at Black and White Reviews 1866. You can also find us on Facebook at Black and White Reviews. Also, look for us for the remainder of this conversation on video. Find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Black and White Reviews. There you will find, again, the remainder of this conversation, as well as some new bonuses and some new stuff that we're actually doing. So follow us, share, comment, and just continue to enjoy the conversation. With that being said, we're going to slide right into non-spoiler territory.
Yeah,
because it's 98.
That's because 98. If any of this ruins this movie for anybody, one, I want to say I'm sorry that it ruined it for you. And two, if it spoils it for you, you're 30 years behind. So